Oh, we need to hit record. Look at
We're
you
recording.
recording.
Woo-hoo.
Yay!
Figured
Hey,
it out.
everybody. Welcome to the Jim and Stu Show Quarantined Edition. So we have a topic for you today that's going to get you super, super excited. And tell us down in the comments down below, say, I'm excited. You don't even know what the topic is. So here's the thing. This is the God's honest truth. If you're sitting at home, you're quarantined, you're under maximum, whatever they're calling it,
Shelter in
maximized
place.
shelter in place. That's good. Maximized social distancing. I like that one. I just made that up. I put the maximize on there. I should make a wizard for that.
Yeah.
Whatever you're having to do, sitting at home, laying on your giant bed of toilet paper, you got like 8 bales of them and turned it into like a Serta perfect sleeper thing. You could stack them up and make a recliner out of, dude, if you had a bunch of toilet paper, you could do all kinds of I totally digress. But you could take toilet paper and make like furniture out of it and take pictures of it and stuff.
Like a throne.
Yeah. Hey, nice.
Yes.
I'm gonna pile it all up around the toilet and sit there. Okay, so anyway, just totally off topic, but amazingly fun. So quarantined, start a podcast. We could not think of a more perfect thing for you to do. You're home. Everybody else is home. Everybody else wants to feel productive. There are all these people with all this great content that are sitting at home going, what am I supposed to do? They're tired of Netflix. The kids are driving them nuts. They need an excuse to go in the home office and shut the door because they're doing something. And so this is the perfect time to not stockpile toilet paper, but to stockpile content. I'm dead serious, people. And so before we get into, we're going to show you the podcast interview wizard real quick. I mean, you can use this tool. You can do it on your own, whatever you want to do. But Stu, I've talked a lot about everything from toilet paper to toilet paper furniture to podcasting. What are your thoughts before we get into a little demo?
Well, I will say this. I already have 5 podcasts scheduled this week, and that's not including ours.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm considering more. So I'm open to new suggestions even. So
okay.
This
is all for the 2 through and after podcast?
No, I'm doing tactical fitness reports.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm on 2 other people's podcasts.
Oh.
So we're moving things around. And then I'm inviting him back to my podcast. So
you show me yours, I'll show you mine kind of thing?
That's pretty much it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's a great week to do it.
That's a great, dude. It's going to be a great few weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a great week. It's going to be a great few weeks.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Other people with podcasts that you want to be on, you approach them with a nice little, hey, don't know about you, but we're under, mandatory sit still in my seat time. If you'd like to stockpile some interviews, I'm available and pretty flexible, unlike usual. And you may be able to pick up some interviews on some other people's podcasts. The one thing I would tell you to do, just for grin's sake, especially if you're starting a podcast and you want to do this pretty quickly, would be, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this too, Stu, would be to not try and customize every single interview, but have a standardized set of questions that you ask everybody to get their take on everything. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, I definitely like to do that. And you can personalize them a little bit for, who that person is and what their skill set, and kind of drive them down their journey as well. So, it just kind of depends on what topic you are going to discuss. But a lot of them, if you can, the cool thing about what Jim is about to show you is that he has a wizard that really helps you design open-ended questions for your person that you're interviewing
right
on the podcast. So
absolutely. So
there's a wizard for that.
There's pretty much a wizard for everything. It's funny. I was putting together the offer stack for the Traffic Secrets,
which is today.
Which is today, yes. And this morning I had to we've got, I think, 7 or 8 bonuses, and Susan wanted some copy for it. And I know this is really shows how I'm thinking now. I had to make a wizard to make to write the copy for what she needed. I was not capable of pulling out Word and just typing it up. I was like, nope, got to do this, got to do this. So I guess it is what it is. So the big thing I would tell you with the podcast is all the doing of the podcast is not the hard part. It's all the little parts and pieces. It's the approach email. It's the interview. It's the follow-up. It's the post. It's all these things that's what holds most people back, because the actual getting on and asking the questions is fun. I mean, if you can drink a cup of coffee and have a conversation with a normal human being, you can do a podcast. So I want to show you guys a tool. Those of you who are already in the Jim Edwards Method Premium, you have access to this. We have the podcast interview wizard, and you can use, we say it's for podcasts, but you can use it for, Facebook Live. You can use it if you're recording over Zoom. You could use it if you're recording over, what's the thing that everybody used to use? Skype. Yeah. Good job, Stu.
Thank you.
So one of the things to understand with this is that, once you fill this out, what makes this cool, and we have a PC version, we have a Mac version, and we have an online version. The reason we have the online version is because when Mac updated their stuff, then they made a pain in the ass to do stuff. So that's why we have the online version. So I'm going to I'll load one of the examples to show you. Basically, it doesn't take hardly any time to fill this out. It's basically, what's your name, the name of your podcast, the person you want to interview, who's your target audience, what's the area of focus, what's the topic of the interview going to be, what are the 2-3 biggest benefits that people really want on this topic, what's the big payoff from the interview that you want, cool secret, their background, call to action, title of the interview, and the points you want to cover on the interview. But pretty much once you've done this once, you can, other than the bio, you can substitute all this stuff for somebody else. I mean, it's not hard.
Yep.
So what you'd also want to do is make sure that you saved it, only because you'd want to save a different version for each person. That way, when you change stuff, you're not gonna have to change everything. So this basically will do your little show notes, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. So the big thing is you're gonna want to figure out the angle of the interview that you're gonna want to do. And this will write your show notes, your iTunes description. But what we're looking for is, do you want to do a beginner's guide type thing? You could do a book review with them, so some sort of like critical skills, FAQ, how'd you get started, which is always a good one. I love the how did you get started thing.
And we all have that story.
Exactly. And people love how to get started stories. Even how'd you get started? Even if they're not getting started, they want to know how other people got started. So if your audience, the main people are going to be going after are people who are relatively successful or are past the beginner stage, then you definitely would want to use that one. If the people you're interviewing, might, like on the one that we do, your sales copy story, these are people on every level. So, for some of them, the story we get out of them might be, how'd you get started? And their how you get started story is what they're doing right now. So, and then the mistakes one is always perfect. Always can use mistakes. All right. Because everybody makes mistakes. So let's do the fast show one. We've got a full show, but I recommend, and Stu, I don't know if you agree with me, but when you're first doing anything, mistakes, you want to, not only mistakes, but also you just want to keep it short. You don't want to do hour-long interviews. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to keep mine between 20 and 30. And sometimes if they're really going well, I may go 40. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, this will write the intro for you. And since it's a podcast, you can just sit there and read this. Hi, everybody. Welcome to I Gotta Tell You podcast. Today's interview is sponsored by, so this is really the person's thing. This could be your affiliate link or it could not be, depending on. Helping entrepreneurs with how to succeed in online business and other important public speaking topics. You can check out Armin's Learn University. The title of today's interview is 3 public speaking mistakes for every entrepreneur needs to avoid. So then, it's tell us a little bit about yourself. What's the number one mistake? What's a mistake that causes people to fail completely? What's a mistake entrepreneurs make where they think they're doing the right thing, any other major mistakes, and is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like me to know? So, I mean, this right here is a good 15, 20-minute interview, and it has your conclusion, your call to action, all that good stuff. So, and feel free to interrupt me anytime you want.
Man, I just like watching this because I have used this several times, and it makes for a great podcast, especially if you really want to come across very professional. Because sometimes I just have my buddies on my podcast, and it's, you know, pretty relaxed. But you want to come across really professional with somebody that's you don't really know well. It makes things just look really tight.
Yeah. So that's just the first thing that this thing will do for you, because now you've got the interview. Well, what would you think about having this write the email to send to the person to ask if they would be on your podcast? So here we go. Email, ask expert to let you interview them. Watch this. This is going to write the email for you right now. There we go. We just click on that. Opens up in my little text editor. Armin, can I interview you? Hey, Armin, Jim Edwards here with a quick question. I was wondering if you'd please let me interview for my I Got to Tell You podcast. So it writes the whole email to send to them to ask if they would do an interview with you. And so all you got to do is just edit this a little, or edit this a little bit, and then you send it over to them. And if you need to take that out, I don't care. But you send them the interview, and there you go. So, awesome. I mean, and here's the other thing. One of the things with podcasts is you got to do your show notes, right? So watch this. So we did the mistakes. Where's the, okay, we got the show bullets right here. We got the handout. We got the fast show. So, oh, well, I'm just dumb. Here's your show notes right here.
Right.
Just copy and paste those.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to pay attention to the comments and everything else. Hey, for those of you that are asking, the answer is no. People are asking if they can do substitutions on my bonuses for the Copywriting Secrets book. No, there are no substitutions. Sorry. Good job asking, but the answer is no. So the other thing, if you don't want to mess around with all of the, if you don't want to mess around with here we go. Oh, here's the handout. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, see what the mistakes one looks like.
Well, the mistake, that's what we just did.
Well, I know. I just want to see the.
Yeah, but the handout was the thing I was looking for.
Yeah.
So this is a handout that you could, come on now. I got 3 screens working at once. But this handout, you could give people this handout with the interview. So people could take notes. That's something you don't see too much. The other thing it'll do is, let's say you're like, you know what, Jim, I don't need all that intro and all that other stuff that you got there. I just need a good solid list of questions. And so what you have here is it'll just give you all the questions. You can, keeps wanting to go over to my other, but here are,
what's the sample?
This is playing 20 questions, any mistakes that people make and we need to let people know about. What are some public speaking tools and resources you think can become or becoming obsolete? So you can mix and match. You could interview somebody. If you got them to answer all 20 of these questions in depth, you'd basically have a special report, if not a small Kindle book, after you interviewed them. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can do it. This thing will also, just for grins, this will also it'll create 2 different email teasers that you can send to your list to announce the episode. It'll also write your iTunes description. So it'll write actually a bunch of different iTunes descriptions for it. So this is what you could paste right up into iTunes. It creates a ton of different stuff for you to help you do your podcast. Now, on the flip side, those of you who are saying, well, I can hear the whole thing. It's just, we show you that because a lot of the people in here are members of Jim Edwards Method Premium. We have a version of that wizard also inside of Funnel Scripts. It's the podcast and Facebook Live interview wizard. It's basically the same thing. So if you've got Funnel Scripts, you have access to this. If you've got the Jim Edwards Method Premium, you have access to this. If you are not in either one of those, you should be in both. But if you, for whatever reason, don't feel inclined to do that, you can still take away a lot of value from this Jim and Stu Show Quarantined Edition, which is now's the time to start stockpiling content. One of the easiest ways to stockpile content is just to interview other people. And right now, you've got the whole freaking world is sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, going, these kids are driving me insane. I can't go to the mall. And, you know, I told Terry this morning, we took the dogs out. And I said, it is not unusual for us, because we work from home and live out in the country. It is not unusual for us to not go anywhere for a couple of weeks. Like never leave the property for a couple of weeks, except to jog up and down the road that I never see anybody. But as soon as somebody says, you can't leave your house, you can't leave your property, it's like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
So
that's a game we play in our head.
That's true.
You know what? Let me talk a little bit about the infrastructure of this, because a lot of people say, how do I do a podcast? You know, what kind of stuff do I need? And it's really simple. Jim and I remember, when was it, about a year and a half ago?
I think it's been 2 years.
Has it been 2 years now?
It's been 2 years. Stu said,
I want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out.
Yep.
And I did all the research. And this is 2 years old research now, so probably a little bit outdated. There's some other companies that are out there that actually have pretty good podcasting platforms.
Right.
But we found Zoom. And what Zoom allows you to do is like what we're doing here, these Zoom meetings, you can record them. It gives you the video and audio file, two separate files. So now you can just send the video file to YouTube, store it there. You can post it on Facebook. You can take the audio file, take it to a website we use called Podomatic, which will send it to your Apple Podcast, your Google Play, your Spotify, a couple other ones.
Yeah.
And they're growing too. They're evolving as well and adding more platforms that can see your podcast. But typically, if you are looking at a monthly expense, I think it's like $17, $18 for Zoom, and then Podomatic was like $12 or $16. So
yeah.
If you're serious about building a podcast and you want to start creating that kind of content,
the lowest price, you don't want to use the free version of Zoom because it limits you to 40 minutes and other stuff. And I mean, if you had to do it, but at some point, you know.
Yeah, I think we tried it for a few weeks and we realized we needed to upgrade. But
right.
It was,
so then,
it
$14 a month if you do it, and I think they give you a break if you pay annually.
And it's easy.
Yes,
it really is easy. I mean, I was trying to figure it out with Skype and record it, and I couldn't split the video and the audio files, and it was just becoming a big headache. But this was all one-stop shop for me, and it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. And then Podomatic, I don't know how much that is, but it's not much. And and the benefit you get of doing your own, of having your own show is it's such a big deal. I mean, you really have to have your own podcast now. It's like you have to have your own book and you have to have your own podcast, because people are like, hey, what do you know? And it's like it's part of networking also. Yeah. You meet somebody cool and it's like, hey, would you like to be a guest on my podcast? And most people will say, yeah, sure. Would you be a guest on my podcast? So it's one of those things that you have to do it now. It's at that point.
It is more content creation. And you know how I started off? I have hundreds of articles that I have published online. Mm-hmm. And what I just did is I just took my articles, and that was what I talked about.
Right.
I
So
was
you
talking,
used the article like an outline for your podcast episode. You didn't
and
read the article.
no, I just started talking about that topic, went through the, the points that the article made, but then added so much more
Right.
to it. And, as a conversation between two people, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. So, Podmatic's not that much. It's like $20. It can't be that much.
No, I think, like I said, between the two, it was.
It's less than $50 a month.
Yes. Yeah,
to be able to run it all.
I'd say close to less than 40. So, I mean, it's for what you're getting, it's worth the expense.
Yeah. And I just want to emphasize right now, I cannot think of a better time in the last 20 years that there is a group of people sitting at home waiting to be interviewed, wanting that you can tap in to be interviewed, but also an audience sitting at home wanting to listen to some cool stuff.
True. Yeah.
So now is the time to do it, to start your podcast. Or if you start a podcast and then, I started a podcast and then it went to hell. And it wasn't until, Stu and I started doing it together that I started doing it consistently. Because this dude, if you say you're going to do something, Stu shows up and makes sure that it's like, let's do this. And then looks at you if you're not ready to do it, like,
what's your problem?
Well, I don't, this is not computing. I don't understand this. And you certainly better get yourself squared away in the next 10 seconds because we're here to do this. I would just tell you now, really, I mean, this is a blessing in disguise if we're talking about this. So do it. I mean, it's like we said, stop stockpiling toilet paper and start stockpiling content. You could make enough podcast episodes to keep yourself busy to have a podcast going a couple times a week for the rest of the year if you took advantage of this forced concentration time. Yeah. So definitely I think you should do it. If you've already got the Jim Edwards Method Premium, if you've already got Funnel Scripts, you have access to the software we just showed you, so go use it. If you'd like to have access to that software and a bunch of other stuff, either go join the Jim Edwards Method Premium or go join Funnel Scripts. There you go. That's my pitch. How's that? Is that an amazing pitch? It's so compelling. If you'd like to get those benefits, Stu, I'd like to invite you to check it out. Both are protected with a full 30-day money-back guarantee, so all the risk is squarely on my shoulders. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by trying this, and other amazing tools at your fingertips that make all of your content creation, all of your copywriting, and all of your other online business needs as simple as filling out a form, whacking a button, and copying and pasting. Do it today.
There you go. I love it. The pro, Jim Edwards.
All right, cool. Well, that's it for the Jim and Stu Show Quarantine Edition. If you have any suggestions for other shows you'd like us to do, it's not like we're going outside and mingling at the mall. So if you have some thoughts on shows you'd like us to do, questions you'd like us to answer, ask in the comments right now, because we'll probably do this again over the next 2 to 6 months.
Yeah. In fact, I just posted an article in the group, and it is all this content creation that we're talking about. It was build your own home gym, what you can do when your gym is closed, with calisthenics and stuff. And it's just a whole bunch of ideas that I wrote an article and did a podcast, and there you go.
Summarize for me real quick. What if you need to build a home gym? What did you tell them to do?
I would start off with dumbbells, and a TRX.
Okay.
Real basic. I mean, the TRXs aren't cheap, but you can find. My advice is go to eBay, because everybody is getting rid of fitness equipment on eBay
this time of year.
Throughout the year, they're getting rid of fitness equipment, and you can find cheap treadmills. You can find whatever that you're looking for on eBay, and sometimes they'll even have free shipping, or they'll have, if it fits, it ships type of flat payment. Especially if you're ordering a weight vest, you can get a 50-pound weight vest squeezed into a 8-pound shipping box.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
Yes, Sean Lowry, you do need to start a podcast, Paul. You need to start a Fishing with Sean podcast, dude. That thing could be, you could crush that. Anyway, I digress.
You were saying comments over there?
So, So I can tell you right now, that was my whole home gym. Well, and a pull-up bar. Yeah, I had a pull-up bar, a horse mat from Tractor Supply, a pair of power blocks, 45-pound dumbbells, and a TRX. That was my entire gym for like 3 years. Yeah. And then 4 years, and then we added a dip bar thing, dip bars, and a bench. That's it. And we got a
cardio equipment.
I got this really crappy. The other thing to look is those Play It Again Sports.
Yep.
Type places. I bought one of those Life Cycles that's really expensive. I got for $200. And I had a treadmill. I got a treadmill, and then I bought an elliptical for like $100. That one of the wheels was wonky, so it was like I think it like vibrated my hip out of the socket once. So after I proved to myself I was going to do it, then I made the big investment in the Precor.
Right.
But I would never want to go to the gym now, man. I love working out at home. Nobody's in my way. You can yell curse words as loud as you want. When you can drop weights, you can yell. I mean, all the stuff that get you thrown out of Planet Fitness and someone would hit the lunk alarm, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I have an outdoor pull-up bar that I just pull my weights to. So I'll bring a deadlift or a barbell out there. We'll just do all kinds of stuff. A bench to jump up and down on or do dips on, and then a place to run.
Yeah, which is the street.
Yeah,
same place we played as kids, in the street.
Right.
And the other, isn't that cool in the wintertime when you're working out outside and like steam is coming off of you and the neighbors look at you like you're insane? Yes. That's the best, man. Anyway, I digress. Yeah. Peter says, do a cooking show from home. I like that. I'd like that. And I would do a specialized cooking show. Like right now, Terry and I are on Weight Watchers, which we're finding all these creative, cool recipes to simulate real food. I'm just playing, but like we figured out this tuna casserole recipe that's like 1 point for a massive serving, and it's awesome. We figured out how to. I mean, I would do a specialized one, like like not just a cooking show, but like a keto cooking show, or a Weight Watchers cooking show, or an Instant Pot cooking show, or a crock pot cooking show. You know what I mean? It's got to have a hook.
Or cooking show on rations.
Oh, the quarantine cooking show. How to take these 3 cans of questionable ingredients.
Feed a family of 6.
Okay. Step 1, you take the nastiest can and you put it in a bowl out in the yard. When the neighbor's cat comes over, this is how you do the box trap. That's how you're able to feed the family of 6. Man, it's called in the military, you called it what? A force multiplier? This is how I'm able to turn this can into 20 pounds of meat. Is that too much? Is that too far?
That was a good one. I was not ready for that one.
All right. Well, I think we should stop.
Yeah.
So, I got to go get ready for a webinar at 11 o'clock. So
I got a 10 o'clock podcast coming up. So
okay, cool. Well, this was fun. This is good therapy for us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, any questions, anything, we'll do the quarantine show again. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about, and we would be delighted to do so because it keeps us busy and out of our wives' hair. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.